A little while ago, we've known for a while that, of course, Suicide Squad is coming with James Gunn is directing. I've been very excited about that. I'm a very big James Gunn guy. I love James Gunn. I really like his movie-making sensibilities. I wasn't the biggest fan in the world of Guardians of the Galaxy 2, but I still liked it. I just didn't think it was quite as good as the first one. But other than that, I just love his films pretty much across the board. Now, we heard a little while ago about the early social media reactions to Suicide Squad, and they were off the roof. Well, the review embargo has officially lifted, and the actual full reviews are coming out right now. And a number of the actual full reviews are saying things like, this is the best DCEU movie ever made. And as of right now, as of this moment, it is holding a 98%. Now, granted, that's a 98% with 40 reviews coming in. Again, the review embargo just lifted this morning, but they are coming in. But the reviews have kind of been off the chart. The Times in the UK says, now that's how you do it. Empire Magazine writes, when Gunn took on Guardians of the Galaxy, he turned nonsense into gold for Marvel. By giving the Suicide Squad the same sense of mischief and an equally surreal streak, he's done the same for DC. The Daily Telegraph in the UK writes, it's dazzling, colorful, and riotously crass, but also emotionally alive. Now, the one negative review, somebody who didn't have as great of an experience with it as the others, came from Entertainment Weekly. And they wrote, the script herks and jerks along with sort of forced festive glee. It's mounting body count buffeted by goofball banter and pounding soundtrack cues. So, hey, let's balance it out. Entertainment Weekly gave it a C+. However, then you get to things like Mashable, who says, this Suicide Squad is a vast improvement, and in a world where a movie as bad as Suicide Squad 2016 exists, hey, that's enough. Flickering Myth writes, James Gunn is unleashed, unhinged, and unstoppable in the most absurd and gory DC film to date. The Globe and Mail writes, sometimes you just need to watch a humanoid shark tear a man in half. I love that. Forbes writes, the whole of James Gunn's zany and violent The Suicide Squad is less than the sum of its parts, but many of those parts are pretty damn great. So, and then again, like I said, a number of the critics I was reading on here, guys, actually saying this is the best DCEU movie of all time. Now, for me, obviously, thems are fighting words because, Man of Steel is clearly the greatest DCEU movie of all time. But I am super excited for this. And Kimberly, let's start with you. You heard about the early reactions.
Yes.
Let me ask you this. Where have your expectations and anticipation levels been for Suicide Squad? And now that the full reviews are out, how have those affected your expectations and anticipation?
Well, the first one, I was a big fan of the characters. The story didn't quite come together for me in the first Suicide Squad. So when I heard that they were doing another one, I was surprised, but two, I was excited because I thought, you know what? The characters are so great and there's so much there to work with. And I was a little disappointed in the first one. So I was excited to go, okay, you know what? Let's give it another go. Let's do this again. I think we can get this right. And they got the right director for it. And I'm excited because, as we've been watching movies roll out in 2021, we're getting back to the movies. We have an opportunity to just have fun. I mean, the first thing I thought of when I saw the trailer was, it's not a live action like cartoon. This is like a cartoon come to life. The colors, the vibrancy, the humor. I mean, unlike many cartoons, the hyper violence. But you know what? We need that escapism right now. So I think it's right on time. A second go for this film to revisit some characters that are familiar, introducing some fun characters. I mean, yeah, who doesn't want to see a shark walking around tearing people in half? Shark Week is enough, but now I got to run from you?
Oh, yeah. Sylvester Stallone is now the king of Shark Week. Anyway, Rob, for you, the same question. I know you've been looking forward to it, but heading into today, where's your anticipation level been? What are you expecting? And how, if any way, have these reviews now coming out, this pretty high rating coming out, how has that affected it?
Well, first of all, I've been a James Gunn fan for literally decades. I had an opportunity to work with him a little bit over 20 years ago on a movie called The Specials that he wrote and he was in. And I've loved him since then, since meeting him. And it's great to see his sensibility after something like Slither and then after Super to be tapped by Kevin Feige to move over to Guardians of the Galaxy and now having him basically Warner Brothers threw him a life raft, and said, "Hey, come over here." When he had some little trouble over some past tweets and things like that. And I love the fact that the studio banked on him and let his imagination run riot. And that look, I got to tell you, never in my life did I ever think I would see Starro depicted in live action. Never in my, much less Polka Dot Man, King Shark. I mean, we've seen King Shark, another iteration of King Shark, but the characters that James Gunn went for, I mean, and that a studio has spent close to $200 million on this movie, or however much it costs, $165 million. I just love the fact that I live in the world today where this movie exists. So my anticipation for it has been quite high. And I don't think I've ever heard, we have a few industry friends that you and I both know who thought this movie is one of the greatest comic book movies they've ever seen. The resounding response from other people in our pundit space when they screened it at IMAX headquarters was through the roof.
Yeah.
And I actually have a little bit of an exclusive that I can offer.
Okay.
So
shoot.
Last night, through certain machinations, I ended up running into a very good friend of James Gunn's who has seen 3 episodes of Peacemaker.
Oh.
The new Peacemaker series, and said, I mean, look, take this with a grain of salt, but this person seemed incredibly knowledgeable and knew a lot. I very much take him at his word. He knew a lot about James, and clearly they were friends like he said they were. And he said the Peacemaker series is terrific, and it harks back more toward what James was doing with Slither and Super. So I was like, okay, I'm totally there for that.
I love hearing that because Slither is my favorite James Gunn film. So I like hearing that.
I'm a huge Slither fan too. By the way, great Blu-ray that Scream Factory put out. So I am very, very, very excited to see this movie.
Yeah,
I can't wait.
And again, just to reiterate, I have a producer friend of mine who got to see an early viewing of it, who actually told us he thought it was a top 3 greatest comic book film of all time. Now, that doesn't mean we're going to think that.
Oh my gosh.
That doesn't mean we're going to think that when we see it. He's just one guy. But I mean, that's pretty cool to hear. Question is for you guys. What do you think about the Sounds of Suicide Squad? The full reviews are now coming out, and they're pretty damn spectacular. What's your expectation levels like right now? Jump on down to the comment section below and let us know your thoughts.